Elevate your summer with Osea's best-selling body care set. It's everything you need for radiant summer skin on the go. Featuring travel sizes of Osea's clean, vegan, cruelty-free, and climate-neutral skincare, like their best-selling Undaria algae body oil. Right now, you can get the bestsellers body care set, a $78 value, 33% off. And use code SUMMER to save an additional 10%. That's an additional 10% off at OCEAMalibu.com, code SUMMER.
Hello and welcome to History for Weirdos.
We're your hosts, Andrew
and Stephanie.
And each week, we're going to take you on a journey into the strange, obscure, and relentlessly entertaining corners of human history.
Now listen up, friends, because it's about to get weird. Welcome to episode number 88 of History for Weirdos.
Woohoo! And today is pretty exciting, isn't it, Stephanie?
Yeah, today's a really special day. Tell them why.
Okay. I get the honors?
You get the honors.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, my fellow weirdos, today, Monday, May 15th at 9 a.m. Pacific, so it's probably already passed at this point in time, you can get your spot for our trip to Italy.
Yay! Woo! The spots officially go on sale. Please check out the link in our bio on Instagram, and it's going to be in the show notes as well.
Correct,
where you can check out the whole trip itinerary, all the amazing sites we're going to go to in both Rome and Florence, and book your spot so that we can see you there next April.
Yeah, guys, and it's pretty important you do it sooner rather than later because the first 10 people get a discount, and then there's only 21 spots available right now. So they're going to go by really quickly. So if you're interested, I would definitely do it ASAP. And you don't have to put down the full amount. It's only like 25%. And there's also payment plans. So they made it really easy, I think, for all of us.
Yeah, that's why I would recommend booking sooner rather than later, is because it's nice to just put down 25% and then like slowly pay over time, because it's not until next April.
Right.
So that's a good amount of time to make the payments, and it won't feel like a big cost all at once.
Exactly.
And then before you know it, you're in Italy with the weirdo community.
With us?
With
I
us.
know. I'm so excited.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that was our big announcement for today.
Yeah.
We will obviously be providing more updates, especially, leading up to the trip as it gets closer. We're going to share lots of stuff on social media, like tips for traveling through Italy and what we're packing and fun stuff like that. So please follow us on Instagram if you have not done so already. Our Instagram is @History4Weirdos.
Correct. Yes. And without further ado, I think it's time, right?
Yes, this week, Andrew, you have, I think, a particularly weird tale to tell.
I do. And I want to give a little shout out to my friend and actual fraternity brother, Kevin, who gave me this idea.
Hi, Kevin.
Hey, Kevin. So you also, if you hate the story, you can blame Kevin. It's his fault.
Totally Kevin's fault. Gosh.
Yeah. Okay, so without further ado, let's just dive right in. So this is a wild tale because we're going to be connecting like legendary ancient Athenian playwright to a doomed 19th century sea voyage searching for the Northwest Passage, and then also connecting it to a haunted painting.
Oh, wow. So we have ancient history, like doomed sea voyage, and haunted painting.
Yes, all in one.
Wow, this is going to be an interesting episode.
Yeah. So, my dear weirdos, I know what you're thinking. And probably Steph as well. This just sounds insane. And it sort of is insane, but it doesn't make anything what I'm about to tell you guys any less true.
Wow, I'm really excited to see how those 3 different points in history connect.
Yeah, well, it's wild. So first, let's start off in ancient Athens. Because why not, right?
Yeah, why not?
So we're going to start off in particular in the latter part of the 5th century BC in Athens. So there's a playwright here by the name of Euripides. You might have heard his name. He's actually incredibly famous. He even influenced Shakespeare.
Right.
So he's a big deal. And I mean, I could just go on a huge tangent just about his life and his contributions, but we're not going down that rabbit hole. We're not going to do it. Mm-hmm. So all I'll say is he is one of the greatest playwrights of all time, probably one of the greatest writers of all time. He was really known for depicting traditional mythical heroes as ordinary people in extraordinary circumstances. Mm-hmm. Like, he pioneered that, which is this trope that we still use to this day. He became known as the best tragedy writer of his time and probably in all of antiquity, if I'm being honest. Even in the age like after Alexander's death, like 100 years after Alexander, so it's centuries at this time, like people in the Hellenistic kingdoms like researched and like read his works.
Yeah.
As part of just like the daily curriculum.
Wow.
Yeah, pretty interesting. And we also just have more complete versions of his plays than any other tragedy writers from the time. So naturally, he's going to be the one that, is spoken about the most.
Right. That we study the most.
Yeah, there's also Sophocles and there's another one I'm just forgetting off the top of my head. But
Sophocles wrote the Oedipus plays.
Yes.
The 3 Oedipus plays.
Yes,
mm-hmm.
exactly. Aeschylus, that was the third one.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, this guy's a big deal. That's all you need to know. The only reason I might bring him up, however, is because of the last lines in some of his plays all generally say the same kind of thing about the folly of man, especially when it comes to the wishes of the gods.
Ooh.
That's important. The Roman author Lucian, centuries later, would summarize by saying, Pola de alptos caneuse the.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
That was so well said.
Thank you. So, weirdos, if you don't speak ancient Greek, basically in English, that can be loosely translated to, the gods bring many matters to surprising ends. And I probably butchered that Greek, if I'm being honest, but I tried.
Well, you fooled me. That sounded like ancient Greek to me. So can you repeat the phrase, what it is in English?
Okay, I was going to do it in Greek, but no.
That's okay. In English again.
The gods bring many matters to surprising ends. It's a loose translation.
That's very true.
Yes, and that will come into play later on. Millennia later.
Damn.
So, and in case you all are interested, it's specifically the plays Alcestis, Andromache, Helen, and Bacchae, or Bacchae.
Uh-huh.
Those are the ones that have kind of like the very end. They all follow the same sort of trope.
Okay.
And also remember this, my fellow weirdos. Euripides, when he was an old man, voluntarily exiled himself from Athens. His contemporary and friend, Socrates, was forced to commit suicide. And whether out of fear for his own life or loathing for the city, he lived in a cave for most likely the rest of his days after this point. He was a recluse and pretty much lived out the end of his life in relative obscurity and isolation. And I'm guessing probably not very happy circumstances.
Right.
I mean, clearly.
It's really harsh and extreme.
Yeah.
But self-induced.
Self-induced, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, Athens was it was really rough at this time. It's during the Peloponnesian War. Mm-hmm. And they had this massive plague, like people died.
So there's a lot of pain and trauma going on. Exactly.
And like the entire Greek war the Greek world are at each other's throats at this point. And here, though, is where we're going to leave ancient Greece and fast forward a couple thousand years to the 19th century.
Ooh.
Yes. So by this time, European powers had been trying to navigate a shorter trip from the Atlantic to the Pacific. Mm-hmm. And I mean, this goes all the way back to the Spanish and Portuguese explorers of the 15th century.
Yeah.
And the Brits, they came upon the scene a little bit later, but by the early to mid portions of the 19th century, they had well established themselves along the eastern portions of North America. Mostly in present day the eastern United States and Canada.
Yeah, we call it New England, the New England states.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So, and essentially by 1800, the centuries of explorations had proven that there was no definitive Northwest Passage along, or through hospitable zones.
What does hospitable zones mean?
Like basically zones that aren't like completely frozen.
Oh, okay.
Like you could like live there.
Yeah.
So Basically, what does this kind of mean to us and to explorers is like the only place left to explore to try to find the Northwest Passage was through the Arctic.
Yes. Oh my gosh, this was such a vibe of that time.
It was such a vibe. And I don't have this in my notes, but the Northwest Passage did end up proving to exist, which is weird because I thought I learned in school that it didn't exist.
Yeah, I thought the whole point...
It did exist. Yeah,
was that it was like a feudal...
The early 20th century, there... I don't even remember. I didn't put it in my notes. It's not even part of the story, but there was a gentleman who did use, like, it was the northern coast of Canada through ice. He was able, I mean, it's only open very short amount of time of year, and he was able to do it. I mean, now it doesn't really matter because we have airplanes and stuff. But it was a big deal at the time.
Yeah, I remember learning about this in school and it kind of having this like sad tone to it, like, oh, this was such a futile effort that was made and so many people died trying to figure this out.
Yeah.
I think it's also referenced in Frankenstein.
Yes, it is.
The doctor, it's a story within a story, right? The Dr. Frankenstein is with a crew trying to find the Northwest Passage.
Yeah.
Telling them about this monster that he made.
Yes. And then they encounter the monster at the end.
Yeah, that's so interesting. I didn't realize it was a real thing.
It was real, yeah. Or it is real.
We all know a guy who only occasionally shaves for big occasions, and it's because that occasional shave really hurts. It's the time of year for big occasions, and yet there he is, suffering with that cheap drugstore razor. Let's help him out. Henson Shaving's line of razors, built with aerospace precision, deliver a smooth shave your dad, brother, and even son can enjoy, eventually. With replacement blades just 10 cents each, you'll buy it once, and they'll use it for life. How's that for the perfect gift? Celebrate with 100 free blades on your first purchase, and no subscription headaches. HensonShaving.com/holiday. So you've found the perfect home, but high mortgage rates have you second guessing. The Churchill Mortgage team says waiting to buy can be a costly mistake. Try their free 15-minute analysis to see the difference between buying now versus waiting for lower rates. Visit churchillmortgage.com to learn a smarter way to build wealth through home ownership. This is a paid advertisement. NMLS ID 1591. NMLSconsumeraccess.org. Equal housing lender. 1749 Mallory Lane, Suite 100, Brentwood, Tennessee 37027.
I'll get to something later that wasn't real, but we'll continue for now. So 1804 rolls around, and the Royal Navy really began to try to explore the Arctic portions to find this Northwest Passage. So it was mainly led at the behest of a man by the name of Sir John Barrow, who was the second secretary of the Admiralty.
Okay.
Don't ask me what that means, but basically all it is, it's really high up in the Royal Navy, you know, or essentially like the organization that oversaw the Navy, and that's all that's important. So over the course of decades, he organized roughly a dozen different expeditions at least through the North Atlantic trying to find this Northwest Passage. So this guy Barrow, he was at it for quite some time. You know, fast forward 41 years. And he's old now. He's 82 years old, to be specific.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. He felt that they were really close to finding the Northwest Passage because they narrowed down where it could possibly be located through just decades of essentially, you know, process of elimination.
Yeah.
He also believed that they would find what was called the open polar sea, which was theorized to be a body of water that wasn't frozen that encircled the North Pole. So this was the thing that ended up not being real, just to be clear.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So maybe we remember the same thing from school.
Maybe we've remembered it incorrectly. Yeah. Both of us.
Yeah, I know. Or, you know, it is the American educational system, so.
That's true. They could have just given us false information.
I mean, they have in the past, so I'm not surprised that they did here. But long story short, there was some drama because a few people that Barrow picked to lead this expedition through the Arctic either didn't, just straight up was like, nope, not going to do it.
Yeah.
Or they were rejected by, you know, like even higher ups in the Admiralty altogether.
Okay.
Eventually, though, he settles on a veteran Arctic explorer, Sir John Franklin, to lead the expedition.
Damn.
Sir John Franklin. Yeah, there's some even better names here. And there would be 2 ships on this expedition. And to give you guys just a wee bit of a spoiler here, the trip is known as Franklin's Lost Expedition.
Okay.
I mean, I did say it was ill-fated in the beginning, so...
I feel like that's a big spoiler, babe.
Yeah. I said it was ill-fated, so this shouldn't be a surprise, guys.
I'm shocked.
You're shocked and appalled?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, anyways, I mean, also the names of the ships on this voyage should have been just a dead giveaway, in my opinion.
Why?
The HMS Erebus and the HMS Terror.
Oh no, why would they do that?
Yeah. So guys, Erebus is from Greek mythology and was like a primordial god of the underworld and was kind of like a personification of literal darkness. So there's just some bad juju right there. And then the name Terror also.
Not very hopeful names for your ships.
Yeah, especially for like a scientific exploration. The leadership of this expedition also included a man by the name of Francis Crozier, who would be in charge of the HMS Terror, kind of as like the second in command overall. And then like the third in command was a man by the name of James Fitzjames.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a cool name.
And he would be the second in command to Franklin on the HMS Erebus itself.
Okay.
So the third in command overall. But I wanted to say their names. They're not like particularly important. I guess they're important for this expedition, but not for the general story today. But I love that name, James Fitzjames, and I wanted to say it.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. Also, an interesting note is that these ships were decades old, but had been retrofitted with what was, at the time, advanced technology. So both had steam engines that had come from locomotives and were also retrofitted with steel parts to be more durable in like the harsher Arctic conditions. And lastly, they had approximately 3 years worth of food on them for this voyage. But here's the thing, like the food preparation was done very last minute. And the guy who won the contract to put together all of the food supplies did so by cutting a lot of corners to meet these tight deadlines.
Oof.
Yeah, so, I mean, I'm not going to bore you guys with the details, and it's kind of nasty, actually. But, like, a lot of the tinned food or canned food was just improperly done and would go bad.
Then it just rots, yeah.
Yeah, and it just basically rotted.
The canning process is key.
It's kind of important, yeah.
For preserving it.
And it's just a big-time oof.
So they went in with the intention of 3 years worth of food, but a significant amount ended up rotting.
Yes.
Okay.
So, ladies and gentlemen, it's now go time on this expedition. And the expedition set sail on May 19th, 1845 from Greenhithe, Kent, and made its way north, passing Scotland, and a month later landed in Greenland. From there, they didn't do a whole lot for about a month, as they were probably waiting for, better or warmer conditions, right? Because even though it's now like middle of July, late July, it's still really cold.
It's the Arctic, yeah.
Yeah, it's the Arctic. So
probably always cold.
And in fact, in late July of 1845, 2 whaling ships saw the Terror and Erebus in Baffin Bay, which is, a body of water that's nestled between northern Canada and Greenland.
Okay.
And they were waiting, again, for the good conditions specifically to cross the Lancaster Sound, which, it's sort of like a body of water that's like nestled between all these Canadian islands.
Okay.
That's like mostly frozen, like for most of the year. And this time, when the whaling ships saw these 2 ships, that was the last time that they were heard from by any Europeans.
Oh.
Yeah. We know that through some subsequent expeditions trying to find out what happened, and from finding logs, as well as artifacts from the trip, we can kind of surmise like a general timeline of events. And we know that the 2 ships got stuck in ice off King William Island in September of 1846, so like a little over a year later, and they presumably never sailed again.
Wow.
So their survivors of the trip wintered on the island, not only that winter, but the subsequent winter.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So they must have thought that they were good, as, maybe that the search and rescue parties were going on, and, they had quite a bit of food
right
left.
Or so they thought,
yeah. But unfortunately no survivors would ever be found from this trip.
Oh my gosh.
From a note written by Fitz, James, and Crozier, we later find out that Franklin had died on June 11th, 1847. A little over 2 years from the beginning of the voyage.
Such a long voyage already.
Yeah. It's really sad, too, because his widow, she held out hope till her dying day that he was still alive.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's very sweet.
I know. It's really sad. So, as a last-ditch effort, the remainder of the crew, they basically just tried to walk to the Canadian mainland in hopes of finding some civilization.
Right.
We know that no one made it, and all 129 of the crew died.
Oh my gosh, that's a lot of people, and people who are used to difficult conditions.
Right.
Perishing, my goodness.
We all know a guy who only occasionally shaves for big occasions, and it's because that occasional shave really hurts. It's the time of year for big occasions, and yet there he is, suffering with that cheap drugstore razor. Let's help him out. Henson Shaving's line of razors, built with aerospace precision, deliver a smooth shave your dad, brother, and even son can enjoy, eventually. With replacement blades just 10 cents each, you'll buy it once, and they'll use it for life. How's that for the perfect gift? Celebrate with 100 free blades on your first purchase, and no subscription headaches. HensonShaving.com/holiday.
Come unwrap some holiday magic this season in Denver, where the lights are brighter and the shopping is grander. The shows are more spectacular, the trees taller, the festivities merrier. So come for your holiday traditions or make some new ones with your friends and family in the Mile High City, where the season feels a whole lot more wonderful. Discover great hotels and more things to do at milehighholidays.com.
And Stephanie, does any of this also sound kind of vaguely familiar by any chance? Any of this Arctic exploration stuff?
Yes, it does.
Are you just saying that because I asked you in a funny voice, or does it actually?
Is this something similar happened in the episode early on that you did about the presidential desk?
Yes, you got it right.
Yeah?
Yes, way back in episode 9, the British Connection.
British Connection.
We did cover not this exactly, but a follow-up expedition that was in search for Franklin's lost ships. Yeah,
that's why. Yes, that's why this was all like the expedition sounded familiar. I just couldn't in the name Franklin, but I was like, I don't know why.
Yeah, it's a long time ago. It's episode number 9, so quite a bit. And just a very brief recap, Captain Edward Belcher was searching for these ships.
Yes.
And ironically, his ships got caught on the ice.
Yep.
And an American whaler found one of the ships, the HMS Resolute, returned her to England, where the ship was disassembled, and some of that timber was made into a desk, which now sits in the Oval Office.
It's all connected.
It's all connected, man. And that desk is called the Resolute desk.
Yep.
Unsurprisingly.
Very cool.
Yeah.
What a throwback.
But, that's not the story, and we got to finish up here with the Erebus and the Terror. The Terror. So, in 1854, John Ray of the Hudson Bay Company, he spoke with an Inuit community who had actually seen some of the survivors. And with their help, Ray located dead bodies on King William Island, and he also reported that there had been signs of cannibalism among the last survivors.
That's so sad.
Yeah. This was all reported back in England, which, shocked them, as they believed that their society was just honestly too far advanced for something like this to occur.
Damn, that's some hubris right there.
It's a little bit of hubris. And interestingly enough, actually relatively recently, within the last 10 years, we did find the 2 ships.
What?
Yeah, I think we found one in 2014 and one in 2016.
How spooky to come across them.
I know.
Particularly knowing the fates of the men that brought them there.
Right.
Wow.
I just find that so fascinating that it's like, oh yeah, we finally found them. And the British government at the time, I think offered a reward for £20,000.
Oh wow.
To find them, which in nowadays money would be worth a little over £2 million. I think.
My goodness.
I don't know if the people that found them try to claim that money or not.
I totally would.
Yeah.
I'd find the original like ad for it and I'd be like, hello.
Yeah, adjust this for inflation.
Yeah, adjust
Do
this
not
for
give
inflation.
me 20,000, give me 2 million.
So interesting.
So this all leads me to the painting. So
The third element of our story.
yes, I feel like I have to put in a little bit of a kind of like a warning, because it's quite grotesque what I'm about to describe.
Nice.
Nice, yes. In 1864, so 19 years after the fateful James expedition left England, artist Edwin Landseer painted what he envisioned how this journey sort of ended.
Oh man, dude. Why? Why? I don't think anyone wants to see that, but okay.
You know, he was an eccentric type, so
Yeah.
we're just going to get into it. He envisioned that it ended at the hands of, or rather, the mouths of polar bears.
What?
Yeah, the painting depicts 2 polar bears seen tearing like rugs apart.
Okay.
And one of the bears has a human rib in its mouth.
Very graphic for the time.
Very graphic.
Very gory.
And it's very bloody. It's a little bit shocking actually to see, even now, even by today's standards.
Really?
Yeah. The painting is called Man Proposes, God Disposes, which borrows the line directly from the Latin phrase homo proponit sedus disponit, which, again, that's a direct translation. And that line, that Latin line, does not come from actually antiquity at all. It comes from a 15th century book called The Imitation of Christ by a German cleric named Thomas A. Kempis.
Okay.
And almost assuredly, he took this Latin phrase, from the earlier Lucian and our boy Euripides.
Right, but he made it like one god versus the gods.
Exactly.
So kind of Christianified it a bit.
Yeah, he Christianified it. And then this Landseer used that phrase as the name of
The painting.
The painting was certainly a statement piece in high society in London, and basically, generally speaking, people disapproved of it.
But we're probably fascinated by it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, unsurprisingly, again, as the UK at this time viewed their society as like the top tier in the whole world, and to have this be the result of something that was supposed to be a great achievement was not only an embarrassment, but really, truly like an affront to British society as a whole.
I'm rolling my eyes, hardcore weirdos.
Yeah, I'm not saying, whether, their assertions are right or wrong. I'm just saying this is what it is.
Yeah.
And so the painting was exhibited at the 1864 Royal Academy Summer Exhibition. And the widow of James Franklin was even invited, but unsurprisingly, she did not come to see the painting.
Yeah.
Though,
I don't blame her.
though art critics did actually like the painting, and it was somewhat critically acclaimed, funny enough.
Yeah, I feel like that's the type of painting that fellow artists would appreciate.
Right.
The masses might be like disturbed
Right.
and fascinated, but I bet if it's a good painting, other artists would think so.
It was, and it was almost like a statement piece. Like we can say whatever we want. We can have these grand dreams, but man proposes, God will dispose.
It's like our modern day saying in English of, if you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans.
Exactly. It's exactly what it is. So, in short, it caused a stir, but we're going to fast forward a little bit to 1881. It's 17 years later.
Okay.
This painting was bought by a man named Thomas Holloway, who put the macabre piece in the women's college because he was like a dean. He was high up in the administration.
Okay.
Though this women's college is now part of the University of London and is co-ed, just
Okay.
kind of as an FYI. But anyways, it's here that we must shift focus yet again.
Tell us.
So this painting is widely considered cursed, and to this day, during exams, a Union Jack covers it as students will not test while the painting remains uncovered.
That's so cool.
Yes. So a legend formed back in like the 20s or 30s that something pretty horrific happened. There's no evidence that this event occurred, but the superstition still holds true to this day.
In the 1920s and 30s?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Or 1920s or 30s.
Okay.
But in short, during an examination, a student killed themselves while taking an exam. And this person was according to legend, seated right in front of the portrait. So this student, again, according to legend, I cannot stress that enough, stabbed him or herself in the eye with a pen while either writing or screaming, "The polar bears made me do it."
Ooh.
Yeah.
Very dark.
Yes. And this student, again, according to legend, ended up dying. So committing suicide, more or less. So, and to this day, it is still believed that this painting is indeed bad luck, and you will fail your exam if you sit by it without it being covered.
I feel like it sounds like the stakes are a little bit higher than just failing your test.
Yes.
But that's very typical, I guess, of like an academic setting for them to assume that the worst thing that could happen is you fail your test.
It's like Hermione.
Yes, definitely a Hermione
We could
thing.
die, or worse, be expelled.
Yes, that's the vibe here.
Yeah.
But that is horrific.
Yes. I mean, it is probably a series of coincidences of, how, this misfortune of Euripides endured later on in life and manifested in ways, between the expedition and the painting and all that stuff. But what if it wasn't?
What if they're all connected?
What if they're all connected?
If there's some sort of like energetic curse here that's being passed through this Greek tragedy theme?
Yes, through the ages. It is truly tragic. Mm-hmm. So you can decide that, my fellow weirdos and Stephanie. Mm-hmm. So, but this is the strange events connecting a storied playwright of ancient Athens to an ill-fated Arctic exploration to a potentially cursed painting.
Wow. Did you know do people tend to fail their tests if it's not covered? Or people reporting
No,
that?
students will not sit for an exam, apparently. Like, they cover it with the Union Jack, like, ever since the 70s.
That's so
Like, it's a tradition
weird.
now
Wow.
to do it.
And do you know the name of the college?
Yeah, it's like it's part of the University of London. It's
Okay.
like, it's a really strange system they have that I don't really quite understand.
Like schools within schools?
Yeah, but it's even weirder than that.
Okay. Well, if anyone has ever seen the painting, because we do
Yeah.
have weirdos that travel a lot or are from the UK.
Or if you're a Brit or, whomever, and you guys have, like, sat for an examination
Oh my
in
gosh.
the room, I'm dying to know.
We would love to hear that.
Yes.
Definitely comment on the post on Instagram for this episode and let us know if you have any experience with this painting whatsoever.
Yes. Well, that is the tale of man proposes, God disposes.
Wow. That is deep and dark.
Yeah, kind of weird.
I love it.
Really weird.
Very, very interesting. This is
Yes.
a perfect example of weird history for sure.
That's true. And our sources for this episode, we have history.com, the Royal Holloway website, the History of Art, the U.S. Naval Institute, and, of course, our favorite, Wikipedia.
That's awesome, babe. Thank you so much. This was fascinating. I definitely felt like you took me on a journey.
It felt a little bit like a journey, honestly.
We had our own voyage, but not an ill-fated one. A lovely one.
A lovely one.
It was pleasant.
Yes.
Me and the weirdos got to listen to a really cool story time.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
So thank you so much for researching that.
Absolutely. And also, weirdos, we forgot to mention this at the beginning of the episode, but
What?
we had that article written about us.
Oh yeah.
Yes, by Riverside
Well, it's
FM.
not an article written about us.
I guess it's a ranking.
Yes, we were included in a list of the top history podcasts by Riverside FM.
Yes, and they ranked us as number 1.
Yeah, and that's probably thanks to you all, thanks to the folks that share this podcast with other people.
Definitely.
That helps, spread the word, get us more wonderful weirdos in the community. So thank you, and check out that article. We'll put that in the show notes as well.
We will. Okay, guys, that's all we have for you.
Thank you so much for listening, weirdos, and thank you, Andrew, for this awesome episode.
No problem.
Until next time.
Adios.
We all know a guy who only occasionally shaves for big occasions, and it's because that occasional shave really hurts. It's the time of year for big occasions, and yet there he is, suffering with that cheap drugstore razor. Let's help him out. Henson Shaving's line of razors, built with aerospace precision, deliver a smooth shave your dad, brother, and even son can enjoy, eventually. With replacement blades just 10 cents each, you'll buy it once and they'll use it for life. How's that for the perfect gift? Celebrate with 100 free blades on your first purchase, and no subscription headaches. HensonShaving.com/holiday.
Sometimes the transition to fall and winter feels like experiencing every season on the same day. The shoes in the Allbirds Mizzle collection were made for misty morning walks, surprise snow days, and anything a trip to the dog park might bring. The whole collection brings together water-repellent technology and classic style, so you can stay warm, dry, and comfy during your everyday adventures. Check off your errands with the Wool Runner Mizzle, dash through cold and wet weather with the Wool Dasher Mizzle, or upgrade to next-level protection with the Wool Runner-Up Mizzle Plus. Go to allbirds.com and use code FRESHSOCKS for a free pair of socks with your purchase. ALLBIRDS.com, code FRESHSOCKS.